Who was actually at that SAGE Commission meeting. Senator Greg Ball represents parts of the Hudson Valley. He is joining me in the studio tonight. Thanks for being here. So this was the first meeting, and was it productive?
Look, I mean, we have over 600 state agencies in New York State. So to the extent that the governor is going to, and the legislature is going to really begin to involve the private sector, as well as members of the majority and minority, in a fruitful discussion about how to consolidate and eliminate some of the waste that we see in the state government, that's productive. The meeting itself seemed to drone on to an extent of an insurance seminar. I think I saw a couple of the people in the press nodding off. Nobody on the commission, of course.
Right, no one on the commission, because they were all really engaged,
That's
I'm
right.
sure. Right. Well, I mean, the problem is that there's actually going to be a vote, right? And it's right around the corner.
Right. Well, I mean, the concept would be actually May 1st. The recommendations are supposed to come out. Today, I think, is April 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about a very expedited time frame. Now, I've personally have asked that this commission get to work much earlier, weeks ago, and begin engaging in more of a grassroots conversation, including agency heads, employees, former employees, whistleblower types, and a constructive conversation about how we can go about doing this. Now we're on a very expedited time frame to get this done by May 1st, and then by May 30th, I believe the date is there will have to be an up or down vote on those recommendations.
Okay, all right. This has been touted as the first major overhaul of state government since 1927, since Governor Smith, Alfred E. Smith.
Right.
Okay. I think many people would say that state government is unwieldy. There's obviously duplicative services that are all over. It's probably a good time to look and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Is this enough time to get that done between the 25th and the 1st of May? That's when the recommendations are going to come out?
Let me just say this. I mean, I applaud the governor for his work on doing what is absolutely long overdone. There are two ways to take this commission. Either the governor, and politically smart in doing so, like we've seen in some extent done in the past, whether it be Medicaid or mandate relief, which was even a little less successful than on the Medicaid side.
Right.
But you have the governor's team and the governor himself, and they put together these commission-type organizations. And you're either actually going to try to engage those individuals. In that room today and on the phone were some very bright people. You can exclude me, but we had some folks from the private sector and otherwise, both sides of the aisle, that could give a lot of input and do a lot of good. Or you're going to use those individuals as a rubber stamp to try to legitimize decisions that have already been made.
Well, which is it?
Well, it seems in this instance that we'll see. My real concern is that it is, like previous attempts by the governor's office that have been wildly successful politically, to be a group of people put together, very diverse, to provide legitimacy for ordained decisions that have already been made by this administration. You know what? If we're cutting state agencies, for the most part, I'm there. I definitely want to see the details. But it would certainly be nice to involve not only the members of the commission and members of the private sector, but involve taxpayers from a grassroots, from a bottom-up approach, agency heads to say, look, we're going to cut you possibly by 20%. What are your recommendations? You certainly know better than Senator Ball, or maybe even somebody from Kodak, because you've been part of that agency for X number of years. So I think that is important. I hope it's not a missed opportunity, but it seems with the expedited time frame, that's exactly what we're headed towards.
Yeah, it strikes me as actually a little bit bizarre. Not only you, but also, for example, Assemblywoman Jane Corwin was actually on this show the very day that Congressman Chris Lee resigned because of his Craigslist scandal. She was here, and she was talking about how she wanted to get the SAGE Commission started. Where was it? It was going to happen. The governor had talked about it in one of either his budget address or State of the State, which were very close together.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen it. Then there was consolidation included in the budget, and I think most people think that that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now the question is, why bring all of these people, not just elected officials, but as you noted, Kodak and outside people with a lot of experience, why bring them in at all if you're not going to use their expertise? Has there been an indication that this is going to go forward past the May 30th date, that the commission would continue to meet?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And that authorization is in the previous budget. There have been consolidations that have been made. Now those are off the table because that work has already been done. So now we're moving forward towards the other 600 agencies and authorities and whatnot. I think it's, like I said, twofold. If you're bringing suggestions towards the commission and you're trying to get finite tweaks or small tweaks on something that has already been preordained, that's one thing. What would have been good to see today, and what I certainly want to see moving forward, is using that private sector expertise that's on that commission to bring in agency heads, and for the governor to provide some leadership and say, look, we want to cut X in percentage, we want to save X, this is where we would like you to go.
Parameters, to give you parameters.
Absolutely, and say, look, if you accomplish this, great. I would personally like you to achieve that, and plus, go another yard. And then have those minds work together to ask the tough questions of those agencies to meet or exceed those milestones. That's what I thought we were going to do today. It's certainly not what we did today. We really talked in generalities about the commission itself, and
was Paul Francis there? Is that
absolutely.
who's leading this meeting?
Okay,
yep. So he's actually from a previous administration, from the Spitzer administration, worked on the Spitzer campaign, and a real smart guy, former budget director, and he's been spearheading this behind closed doors for quite some time now.
There's no doubt that the governor's office and led by Paul has already done an enormous amount of work. I would just say there may be a hint of an opportunity once we get beyond this May 1st deadline to actually engage the commission in doing some of the work that Paul's doing. Instead of just using, in fact, I'll give you an example. We were told today that we're going to be broken up into 4 to 6 different groups. Those numbers shifted, I believe, during the conversation. There's no definition of how those groups are going to be broken up. So we had the meeting, we've moved forward, and there's no clear definition of how we're going to be assigned work.
Or even if you're going to meet again before the May 1st. Is that correct?
Right. I mean, we're going to have a form of communication through email and phone and that sort of thing. But really, it would be nice to involve the agencies, rank and file members, unions, management, and everybody in between in these discussions. And I understand the need to avoid the spectacle of a public forum, but at the end of the day, when you're talking about 20% reduction in your state agencies, you can involve all the stakeholders plus the commission in an honest conversation. And I think with the leadership that you have on that commission, avoid maybe some of the pitfalls that the governor's office may be hoping to avoid simply by using this commission as window dressing.
Yeah, I actually want to just shift gears for a second and talk to you about something that you're proposing today with Assemblyman Jim Tedisco, which is a gas tax holiday. I mean, this seems to me to be something that we talk about perennially. If not perennially, then every time the price of the pump goes up. I mean, look, 2001, the State Conservative Party noted today that they were putting out a petition with Assemblyman John Faso asking, please, could the 4% sales tax on gas be rescinded?
Right.
Now they're restarting that. It's 2011. I mean, what is the purpose here?
Well, I think some of the most structural issues in New York State that have led us to, whether it be backdoor borrowing or whether it be increased spending or whether it be taxing, we have continued to go in the wrong direction. Now, this year, the good news is with the leadership of this governor and the majority conference, Dean Skelton in the Senate, and an uncanny ability by this governor, evidently, to keep Shelley Silver in line, this state is now moving in the right direction, which is a huge shift. You had Elliot Spitzer, who told us that, you can't change the course of a battleship overnight. Well, if you don't change the course of this battleship overnight, we're going to sink. It's called the Titanic.
Okay, but then why a holiday? Why not just get rid of the 4% altogether?
I think that in this state, even though we're moving in the right direction, that it is important to have a symbolic gesture to our blue-collar families and working families that are finding it very tough to make ends meet. And really, this economy is on the cusp of either going in one direction or the other, and it would certainly send the right gesture. And with that momentum, maybe we can move forward to end the taxation in New York State that other states don't have. We can look. My brother lives in New Jersey. You can see the lines of New York State license plates going to get gas. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, and you don't have to pump your own gas in New Jersey either.
Right.
You're not actually even allowed to pump your own gas in New Jersey. So do you have someone? Assemblyman Tedisco, of course, is a Republican in the Democrat-controlled Assembly. You got to have a majority sponsor. It's not going to go anywhere over there.
You're right, and we just unveiled this initiative today,
right.
And I'll be moving forward because a lot of people are off in Tahiti and everything else. That well-paid legislature, but we will work to get a majority sponsor in the Assembly. And as gas approaches $5 per gallon, I mean, I remember talking about $5 per gallon and people saying, "Oh, that'll never happen." this is pretty scary stuff going into the summer.
Just also in closing, before we let you go, what is the latest update on the threat that your office received? You received a bizarre stuffed animal, if I'm...
We got a Curious George doll, which was actually my favorite cartoon character growing up as a child.
There it is. We're looking at it right now.
I didn't like the fact that it had a vial attached to it with a Star David that said Destination Auschwitz, signed with a letter, Messenger of Allah, and a horrific anti-Semitic letter attached.
Well, this was all about the hearing
Homeless
that you had
hearing
had.
that we held, and evidently the woman also claimed credit for sending the pig's feet to Congressman King, so I'm in good company. I'm going to continue to do my work. I have no updates on the investigation. I can tell you that when she was interviewed by some local press, she said, well, I'm not going to hurt Greg Bowles, but somebody should. And, you know, in a post-9/11 environment, we can't take, in a post-Congresswoman Giffords environment, we cannot take any threat, however bizarre, lightly, unfortunately.
But no
we're gonna-
updates on that investigation. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Senator. I want
Pleasure
to
to be
thank
here.
you. It's
Thank
good
you.
to see you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.